Do you spend hours in your head thinking about something that happened, could have happened, or might happen? Do you ask others what to do so you don't make a mistake? Welcome to the Playing It Safe podcast. I am Dr. Z, your host. I am a clinical psychologist, an author, and a person that is super passionate about sharing with you science-based skills to overcome any type of fear-based struggles. Who doesn't experience fear? Who doesn't play it safe? In this show, we will discuss how fear-based reactions happen in day-to-day life, how playing it safe behaviors look like, sound like, and feel like, how you can put into action solid tips from behavioral science to get unstuck from worries, fears, obsessions, and anxieties, and how you can start doing what works, what matters, and what you care about. Behavioral science doesn't have to be boring. Thanks for listening, and let's get started. Hi guys, how are you doing today? While recording this episode, I realized that we are so close to the end of the year. I think when I look back at 2020, this has been the year in which being present, bringing myself back over and over to what's happening in front of me, making room for all types of emotions that came my way, and remembering that we all are doing our best has been super important to keep moving. So I hope that you have found things that have helped you to navigate through this pandemic and all the stressors that we were exposed to. In this episode, I am going to chat with you a little bit about what's wrong with paying attention to details. So let's begin. Sometimes I ask myself the question, what's wrong with paying attention to details? When reading Steve Jobs' biography, the one written by Walter Isaacson, I learned that he didn't buy furniture for months for his first home because he was waiting for the pieces that will fit his space right. He loved the notions of simple and clean modernism, so he wasn't going to settle for something less than that, even if that meant sitting down on the hardwood floor. When designing the Mac, that's another example of how much he paid attention to details. He wasn't going to settle for rectangles with square corners and relentlessly fought to have rectangles with round corners in almost all products. Steve Jobs' meticulousness for details was relentless, limitless. Some people may say that because of that, he created very unique aesthetic and functional products. Others may think that he was too focused on the nitty-gritty of details, how things are, how things look, that he paid excessive attention to things that no one will see, like the electrical board the Mac has. Is it fundamentally wrong to pay attention to details? Don't you want to create a project that speaks about who you are and what you care about? Aren't the details about a movie, a story, or article the reason why we like it more than others? Isn't it that the special details about someone make us fall in love with them? Wouldn't you rather to have a dish that has a meticulous presentation, even though you don't have idea what the ingredients are? The academic term for this ability of paying attention to details is called selective attention. And selective attention can be applied to many areas of knowledge, including becoming selectively attuned with details or what's wrong in your performance, the performance of others, objects you're interacting with, or projects you're working on. Selective attention to details could involve focusing on small details, flaws, or defects in everything you do. Let's think for a moment how paying attention to details applies in your day-to-day life. What are the areas in your life where you pay attention to details? There could be many areas. At home, how you look, how you play sports, a project for a school, how you talk to others, many more. There is nothing wrong with paying attention to details. There's nothing abnormal about doing so. We all do it to a certain degree within certain tasks and with our best intentions. The problem is when we become consumed with details and spend hours paying attention to them, delaying a task or procrastinating because we want to check one more time for a potential flaw. Here's the deal. There is a difference between checking the details of a task to improve the outcome, project, or activity you're participating in versus checking it multiple times to the point that you don't put anything into action and you end up stuck. Here is another consideration. There is a difference between paying close attention to details because you care and it's a way of living your values versus paying rigid attention to details because you feel that that's the only way to live your values. Paying attention to details with flexibility is key for you to keep doing what matters, but paying attention to details as a rule, that's a bit different. If you want to dig deeper, you can ask yourself the following questions. What happens under your skin if you don't pay attention to details? What does your mind tell you about yourself? What meaning are you giving to mistakes? Do you get hooked on thoughts along the lines of a mistake means I am a failure? A mistake means I am not good enough? A mistake means that I'm doing mediocre work? Your mind may come up with all types of thoughts about who you are or who the other person is if you don't pay attention to details. As annoying as it is, it's natural. Your brain is just working super hard to protect you from getting hurt, because that's just what brains do. And yet, let's take a look at what happens when you get consumed with details. What's the outcome? If you are getting stuck paying attention to details hours and hours, here are a couple of things that you can do. One, you can limit the number of times you check a particular task. If you don't know what the ideal number is, you may want to ask 3 people who are familiar with the task so you can have a reference and then you can choose a number that works for you. 2, when having the urge to check on the details of a project multiple times, see if you can make room to describe the feelings that come with the urge to check. And take a deep, deep breath. Taking a deep breath is not going to make the stress go away, but it's going to help you to ground yourself to handle that urge. 3, you can ask yourself if paying attention to details one more time gets you moving towards your values or takes you away from them. Think about it. Because you care, of course you want to get things right and perfect. And of course you're going to have a strong urge to pay attention to details to make sure nothing goes wrong. The question is it really helping you to be the person you want to be? Or is it taking you far away? 4, if your mind comes up with many reasons to prove how important it's to do things right and perfect, see if you can watch those thoughts for what they are. They are letters and words put together. No matter what they tell you, you don't have to go along with them. You can choose how to behave. You don't have to get trapped trying to prove your thoughts right or wrong in those moments. And just to clarify, perfection is not a value. Doing things right is not a value. Doing things with care is a value. And that doesn't mean that you have to do everything right and perfect. It just means that sometimes letting it go of those nitty-gritty details will get you closer towards your values instead of keeping you stuck. Try these recommendations and let me know how they go for you. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, I will very much appreciate it if you will subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. And if you're feeling extra generous, I welcome a review on Apple Podcasts. Show notes of this episode are in the website playingitsafe.zone. Make sure to subscribe to my newsletter so you can receive more tips to stop all types of unworkable playing it safe actions. See you soon!